Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Batwoman Season 1 review series, and today I am going to be talking about episode 16, which was called Through the Looking Glass, and I thought this episode was pretty good. I thought it was a nice follow-up to episode 15, where we saw Kate cross the line and actually do something that's very un-Bat-like, and that was take the life of August Campbell. And I said in the last video that Kate Kane taking another person's life was a real game-changing moment, simply for the fact that Batman and most of the other Bat characters have that one rule where they do not kill. So to actually see Kate cross that line was a real game changer, in my opinion, and a very pivotal moment for season 1, especially, it's happened so early in the season, season 1, you'd think something like that would happen maybe season 2 or 3, but to have this actually happen in season 1 was a huge deal. But this episode pretty much deals with the aftermath of Kate Kane taking August Campbell's life, and it's very interesting to see her deal with that. And as we saw at the end of episode 15, Alice said that, well, congratulations, you now have 2 daughters as killers. So that was a very pivotal moment, as I've said already. So anyway, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. Let's talk about episode 16, Through the Looking Glass. And before I begin, just want to point out one tiny little thing. Through the Looking Glass doesn't mean we didn't see the Mad Hatter, because sadly we didn't, because I don't know why they do these things. They give out clues and references to classic Batman villains in the titles, but we don't actually see them, so I don't really understand why they do that. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation for another time, so let's get right into it. So we pick up where we left off at the end of episode 15. We see Alice and Kate watch as Jacob digs August's grave on the outskirts of Gotham. Kate still feels guilty about killing him, but Alice says it's a waste of time. Alice decides to find Mouse and help him get to safety, and blackmails Jacob and Kate into letting her go, so that she doesn't tell everyone about how August died. Typical Alice. Meanwhile, we see Kate has a panic attack out on the field as Batwoman. In the Batcave, Kate lies to Luke about what happened to August, and Alice returns back to her lair to find all of her henchmen have all been brutally murdered. She finds a note from her friend from Coriana, seemingly Sapphire. Alice visits Kate in her bar, asking her to help find Mouse and promising to leave the city afterwards. Kate agrees as long as they do things her way. Well, not to be horrible, but we saw how that went. She calls Jacob, who reveals that Mouse killed a nurse at Arkham Asylum, where she was tortured for years. Kate and Alice impersonate undercover Crow agents and try to interview one of the former nurses, but Kate worries about Alice drawing attention to herself. Mouse and the Crows quickly show up at the house, and Jacob fights Mouse and hauls him off to Gotham. The nurse, who has a gun, reveals that she'd known Kate and Alice were lying to her and called the Crows. Alice asks Kate to help her break Mouse out of Arkham. She determines that Mouse will be in the secure basement at Arkham, which is guarded by 2 keys held by a doctor and the head of security. It's quite interesting that, even after Kate has killed August and, Alice has killed a dozen people, it is kind of cool to see, these two actually working together, even though it's very reluctant on both sides, more Kate's, but I actually quite enjoyed seeing them working together, and it would be nice if we actually see Alice turn good, but it is what it is. Kate argues that she's too autistic to help free Mouse, but Alice argues that Kate isn't any better or more different than her. Kate determines that Alice set the circumstances up to kill Cartwright and begins to fight her before ultimately yielding. Alice begins crying, thanking Kate for killing Cartwright and telling her not to feel guilty. Kate agrees to help free Mouse and Alice promises that no one will die in the process. She then gives Kate a rabbit mask to wear undercover. They frame a delivery driver to distract the guards while they sneak through the vents into Arkham's basement. Kind of reminds me of Mission Impossible, going through all the vents, It's kind of cool, actually. They split up to go get both keys. Alice meets the Doctor and steals his keys, while Kate makes her way to the security guard and fights him and other guards off. Alice arrives and throws Kate her knife to use to get away from a guard. They get the second set of keys and go to free Mouse. Alice runs in to comfort Mouse, but Kate locks them both inside. Clever! Jacob arrives and they leave Alice locked up inside the cell. Jacob reveals to Kate that Alice is in solitary at Arkham and that he's already moved August's body. He suggests they put Alice behind them and they embrace. Kate drinks from the balcony of Wayne Enterprises where she is visited by Julia Pennyworth. Kate tells her that she's unsure who she is right now or whether or not she's really a hero. Julia comforts her and they kiss. Alice monologues to herself and Mouse in prison, threatening to break out of Arkham. And also in this episode, we see Luke finds out that Reggie Harris, the man who killed his dad, Lucius Fox, is actually getting his sentence reviewed. He goes to court and is accompanied by Mary, who is there for moral support. I actually love these two. Aside from Rachel Scarsden's portrayal of Alice, Mary and Luke's bond has been another good thing I like about this show, and it's really nice that she was there to support him. I really do hope they get together as a couple because I love the chemistry between these two. It's been a lot of fun to watch these two grow. The judge determines that the case needs to be retired and that Harris is able to go free. Luke stakes out Harris's apartment and confronts him outside of it. Harris reveals that he was framed and that Lucius had asked about how great of a kid Luke was on the night he was murdered. Harris then says that there was a conspiracy tied to his death right before getting shot and killed. Luke relays Harris's death to Mary, who reveals that the woman who owned the Boggio was also killed recently, and that someone is clearly trying to cover up Lucius Fox's real killer. Jacob goes to Sophie to look into what's happening with the Crows tampering with evidence. She calls Kate but ends up leaving a voicemail. She goes to follow a lead but is seemingly ambushed before Julia Pennyworth arrives, revealing that there's a bounty on Sophie's head. Julia also reveals that she's been shot in the arm, which leads Sophie to take her to Mary's clinic. Sophie and Julia lay low in a motel where Sophie calls Jacob just as he is almost gunned down himself. And as I said already, that's how this episode ends. We see Alice and Mouse are locked up in Arkham and threaten to break out. And overall, I thought this was a pretty good episode, and as I said, a very nice follow-up to episode 15, and it's going to be very interesting to see how things are handled regarding Kate taking another person's life. And you can clearly see that she didn't mean to kill August, she just lost control. But I don't think you'd see a guy like Batman lose control like that, even though there's been periods where you think he's actually going to kill the Joker, but he ultimately doesn't. But it is very interesting and a very different change of dynamic for Batwoman, so it's going to be very interesting to see how things go forward here. So anyway, what did you think of episode 16? Did you think it was good? Was there any favourite moments of yours? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will be back next time for another edition of the Season 1 review series where I'll be talking about episode 17. So, till then, take care everybody and stay safe.